friends, welcome back to me, welcome back to you, or welcome if this is your first video. I had to take a little bit of an extended hiatus. I just moved and the setup is not the same as it used to be, so a little bit of a challenge, but hopefully I'll get there soon. Anyway, I am still having trouble with my mic. I'm using earbuds for now. Hopefully that helps. Sorry if the audio issue is still not great. I know it's annoying, but I'll get it figured out. Anyway, so wanted to share this very big book haul, and this has been over the last couple months or so. I would say after I did my book unhaul, it was about 25 books, I think, and since then I've acquired 25 more books, so we're an even wash, but at least these are books that I'm really excited to read, and some of them I've even read already, so let's get into it. I will share with you the books I got when I traded in my books at Half Price Books. Now, I found a couple really good books there. The first one being 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Oh wait, I want to make sure that that's not backwards. I need to check it. And of course, kitties are in the background causing havoc. Okay, so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I actually did just finish this book. It is so good. I love all the detail it gave under the sea. Such detail about the flora and fauna. Really heavy on the science, more so than I was anticipating, but I love that. So definitely 5 stars. I understand why it's a classic. Very good. Also, I found another book that's been on my master TBR, and it's signed here. So this is a fun little story, a little bit of a retelling of Dante's Inferno, or inspired by it at least, so I would like to read that in preparation for reading this. I always like to understand the source material, even if it's just more as a satire. And these next few books that I got, these came from the thrift store, so they were all 50 cents each, which is really awesome. This one's been on my master TBR for a while, and it's a mass market paperback, but it's such a classic that I'm okay with it, and that is Ender's Game. Oh, shiny. So, getting back a little bit more into sci-fi now, so I think that would be good to add to my collection. And then also I found this, And Then There Were None, but this is the play version of it. I knew it was not going to be the novel because of the size, and I have read this book, an audiobook, but I haven't checked out the play, so I thought that would be cool to have. And then I found this Penguin classic, and it's the autobiography of Morrissey. And grew up listening to his music, so I thought it would be cool to check out. I did start reading the first page, and it gripped me enough to pick it up. And these next few books I got from little free libraries, so I just exchanged a book for them. So the first one I got was How to Do Calligraphy. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this has to be from the 70s or something like that. I could just tell. And it's from the 70s, so I always love that. I think that's really cool. I love anything from the 70s, so I wanted to add this to my collection on lettering. And then also I found this book called Fox, and it's not really Guy Fawkes, that story. It more so has to do with something that makes... It's some kind of plague, which I'm not a huge fan of reading about because of the last few years. I just don't want to hear all that. But anyway, this plague does something different where it like eats away their eyes or something like that. And so the mask is involved. I don't know. I haven't read the synopsis in a while. But I don't know. I thought it looked pretty cool. And then the most recent book I found from the Little Free Library was this book. And this is Princess Bride. The reason why I got it, even though it's a really beat up copy, and normally I wouldn't get a book like this, but it's really old, and the front of it says a hot fairy tale, and that made me laugh. And then also the back, it says, what happens when the most beautiful girl in the world marries the most handsomest prince in the world, and he turns out to be a son of a bitch. I'm like, what? It made me laugh, so I wanted to get it just because of that. And then it also has this cool little map here in the front. The next book I got from a local library bookstore, and this one didn't have the best selection, so I only found this one, but it is a book that's been on my master TBR for a while, and it's a great classic, and that is The Life and Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. I just call it Robinson Crusoe. It even has the old library card in it. It's pretty cool. And this one has illustrations like that all throughout the book. The only thing is, though, the type is so tiny. I can tell that it's the kind that can make your eyes tired if you read too long. But I would love to read it. And this next stack of books I got from Book of the Month. So I do have the monthly subscription. And so for the month of May, I got 3 books. And I chose, there were 2 books that I really wanted, but I could only get them as add-ons. So I chose the Members Fade Babel, so that way I could get the 2 add-ons. And I wanted to read this, but I don't know. I may start reading it a little bit more and see if I can get along with it or not. You know, one of the add-ons that I really wanted was Feast of Extraordinary Circumstance. This has been out for a while, but I just found out about it recently, and it has really good reviews. And this is following, I think it's like a coming of age story, and he has some kind of magical power, but he doesn't quite know how or what. It's like a mixture of different fairy tales, and it's a nice short book, relatively, so looking forward to reading that. And then this book, I've been wanting to read this book. I grew up watching the movie, and it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm going to be reading it for Summerween, which is one of the readathons I'm going to be participating in this summer. I'm actually participating in a readathon all June right now, and then participating in one the end of June, beginning of July, and then Summerween is going to be the 2nd week of July. So I'm going to be reading Practical Magic, and it'll bring me those spooky vibes a little bit early, and it's a nice short book again. So looking forward to reading that in July. Then the 2 other books I got from Book of the Month, this is from June. So I picked for my Book of the Month, Ink, Blood Sister Scribe, and this is following some magical books that cause a little blood to be drawn, and there's some family secrets and intrigue, and looking forward to reading that maybe this fall. This book is a thriller, and I've been wanting to read this, and so excited to finally get it. No Exit. Now this book is kind of hard to get, well, at least price wise. If you go on Amazon, it's like $40 for the hardcover, and if you want the paperback, which is what I wanted initially, but at least from what I found, they only had the TV promo ad cover thing, and I don't want that. That's not why I'm reading it. So I was like, well, this is a better deal. It's only $11 as an add-on. So I went with Book of the Month and a nice short book again. And then this next stack of books have all been purchased, and quite a few of these, I would say maybe half of them, are for readathons, and they're books I either wanted to read anyway, or books that when I found out about them, I was like, oh yeah, I want to read that. And some of these I've also read already. And this next one I'm so excited to read because it's the sequel to a 5-star book that I read earlier this year. And that book was Middle Game by Shannon McGuire. So this sequel is Seasonal Fears. I love the cover. About the same length as the other one. And I waited for the paperback to come out because they had the hardcover, but I wanted the paperback to match Middle Game. And I know this doesn't follow the same characters, but it is in the same world, and it probably follows the same kind of like magic system or alchemy or something like that. So definitely looking forward to reading this. I think it would be fun to read in fall as well. And the next book I got was The Black Tongue Thief. I love that cover, and I've been wanting to read this book for a while. And this is a fantasy adventure. It follows a thief who ends up going on a quest with another, a knight. They go on an epic adventure. So this has really good reviews, and excited to read that, hopefully later this year. And this next book, oh my god, this is one of my all-time favorite books. 5-star. It got in my brain like a worm, and I thought about it all the time. When I wasn't reading it, I still think about it, and I just love what they did in it. And that is Ascension by Nicholas Finch. And this is like a sci-fi adventure slash thriller light horror. So basically, this really tall mountain peak appears out of nowhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And so they have, expeditions there to go figure out what's going on. And it plays around with the idea of space and time, and there's creatures that exist on here, and it really explores some really cool ideas. And I love physics, especially, and it played into that quite a bit, so I loved it just because of that. I'm actually going to do a standalone review of this book, I think, because I just have way too much. I have way too much to say about it. And I kind of want to do like a non-spoiler and a spoiler, because I feel like there's so much that I want to say that I would need to say everything basically. So yeah, I tabbed quite a bit in here. It's a nice short book. I think it's under 300. I read it really quickly, so I highly recommend this if you like sci-fi, as in like physics, space, time, even quantum mechanics, stuff like that. Highly recommend. And then because I love that book so much, I looked up other books like it, and then I ended up finding his other book, which is called Professor Everywhere. Oh, I know it's like greasy. It's like that matte fingerprints. Anyway, I saw this cover and I'm like, oh, I think this has to do with like quantum mechanics or something like that, and it does. It has something to do with that, and it's a little bit academic leaning because it follows a professor. So just to read like a few things on the back, just to give you an idea, some of the quotes. Just step through that door and remember that when it closes behind you, everything turns to fiction and no longer exists except in your own mind, mad or sane. The real trauma of Professor Everywhere involves a readerly alignment with Chloe, the main character, a contemporary Icarus who lives to recall her epic fall. A nightmarish world of corridors and doors appearing and disappearing, a surreal underworld that could have been taken from a Greek myth. Last quote, a wide metaphor of our times and of the infinite faces that the academic world can take. So yes, looking forward to reading that. And then another book I'm going to be reading for Summerween, and this book is going to be fulfilling the prompt for Read in the Dark. And I have read, I think at least one book, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, and I think that's it. I could have sworn I read more than that, but I think maybe that's it. Anyway, I'm going to read Home Before Dark. I'm like, how perfect is that? Home Before Dark, read it in the dark. Then another book I'm going to be reading for a readathon. Actually, this book is going to count for 2 readathons, and that is A Siren's Call. It has to do with pirates and mermaids, and it fulfills a prompt for having a water setting, as well as it involves our team mascot, which is mermaids. And for the other readathon, it has a mermaid on the cover, so it'll count for 2 readathons at the same time. The other book I'm going to be reading also for a readathon, and this one is going to be for the Mermaid Marathon, and this one is in the end of June, beginning of July, and this fulfills the prompt for a beach setting or beachfront setting, and that is House of Salt and Sorrows. And they're right on the coast there, and this is basically a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which I have never actually read, so I think that'll be really cool to experience a new kind of fairy tale, and again, a little aquatic setting, so I always love that. And then continuing on with the aquatic nautical theme, this book it's a recent buy, and it was a really good deal. They have the first edition, like a limited run of the first edition hardcover on sale for only $8. So I was like, whoa, it's even cheaper than the paperback. And it looks really cool and fun, and it fits the nautical theme. And this one I'm gonna read it for this month's readathon, which is the Once Upon a Readathon Treasure Island edition. And this will count for a water setting, and that is Monsters Born and Made. This is a really cool cover. This is some kind of sea creature that, a maristag, I think is how you would pronounce it. It looks like a deer, but it also swims in the water. The author of Iron Widow blurbed it on the front here, so I thought that was a good sign. And what's cool is it even has, because it's this edition, it has, you kind of got messed up on the corner there, but I like how it had that. This is just an $8 hardback, just the normal book. Let's say, this is the ocean and you're a hunter. You swim with monsters. These people cannot scare you. And then the back just has some more ways. That's really pretty. And then that's fine. And so in this one, you follow a 16-year-old and her brother, and they risk their lives to capture these creatures that live in the Black Seas around their island, or else their whole family will starve. And then the ruling elite have indentured their family to provide these creatures for a race, and it's only held for the upper class. The winner receives golden glory. If they're losers, they're lucky if they survive. And then she basically fails to capture one for this race, and then they can't afford medicine for her chronically ill little sister, and her only choice is to cheat in the race. And she has to go against people who have done it their whole lives, and they're not gonna let, you know, some little low-class girl take away their glory. So it kind of gives me like Hunger Games vibes a little bit. And then riots break out. She has to do more than win the race. So riots break out. She has to do more than win the race. She has to stop the whole island from burning. Oh, here we go. It's an epic South Asian inspired fantasy debut. Nice. And this next one I'm also going to read for a readathon in July, and this one is going to fulfill the set at sea prompt. And this one is actually a nonfiction. It's a seafaring adventure though, and it has really good reviews, and that is The Wager. And it's a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. So this is a true story about a shipwreck and mutiny and murder, of course, like it says. And just wait, look at that cover. Can you see it? So it's glaring. That is just so like, oh, it makes my stomach feel like it's gonna drop out just looking at it. Oh, how terrifying. Anyway, this is a true account of what goes down on this shipwreck, and I'm so excited to read that. Again, reading it in July for a readathon prompt. So I only have a couple books left to show you. This next one is another nonfiction, and this one I guess could probably count as one of the readathon books, but we'll see. And that is Soul of an Octopus, and it's all about octopuses or octopi. They're actually both correct. You could say either one. So it's about octopi, and it's about their life in captivity or in the wild. And the reason why I actually got this book was because I also got Remarkably Bright Creatures, and so I wanted to learn more about octopi before reading that. And it turns out that that kind of ties into the next book. And this book I just started reading, and it is basically a mashup of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I just finished, and Frankenstein. I haven't got to that part of the book yet, but that's how it's been described. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea meets Frankenstein, and that is Deep Light. Look at that cover, it's so cool. And basically there's this land at seaside. Basically there's a seaside town that had gods. They all died, but there's been pieces of them out in the sea, and so they collect them and use them in things, and they have great powers. And there's an adventure that goes down here. I'm just about on page 114. So what I like about this book is on every chapter page it has the tentacles like that. I think that's really cool. So I'm about page 114 in here, and we got to a part where there's young men who think they can do certain things to acquire these things. And I don't know how well it's going to go, but I'm excited to read it and find out. Okay, so that wraps up my book haul, replacing the 25 books I just unhauled. Well, not just unhauled, but you know, it was one of my most recent videos. So thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you have read any of these books, what you thought, if you're planning on reading any of the books. So that's all for now, and we'll see you guys in the next one.